Do you want to be mad at something new? Does Joe Biden want to limit Americans to drinking just 2 beers a week? Well, I've got a story for you. Here's White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre on that very subject.
President Biden want to limit Americans to 2 beers a week.
Where is this coming from?
Dr. George Koob, who is the director of the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, says the U.S. may soon follow Canada and recommend just 2 beers a week.
I will leave it to the experts. I'm just not going to comment on that.
Things only escalated from there. Here's Senator Ted Cruz on Newsmax last night.
And now these idiots have come out and said, drink 2 beers a week. That's their guideline. Well, I got to tell you, if they want us to drink 2 beers a week, frankly, they can kiss my ass.
No, okay.
Ted Cruz isn't the only one in a twist over these rumors. The alcohol industry already going on the offensive. One spokesperson for the Distilled Spirits Council wrote, "It is extremely alarming, inappropriate for a federal official to predetermine the outcome of the dietary guidelines and suggest changing decades of precedent without the benefit of the scientific review to support such a sweeping move."
Now, in the words of Jean-Pierre, where is this coming from? Well, director of the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, George Koob, told the Daily Mail last week he was open to lowering the recommended amount of drinks per week, closer to the Canadian guidelines, which recommend 2 drinks per week. Currently, U.S. guidelines say men should limit their alcohol consumption to 15 weekly drinks and women to 10 drinks.
So you seem pretty upset that this is being talked about. I agree.
No, this was my
Biden's
suggestion. I suggested this topic. I think it's hilarious.
I mean, this is not like being made up. The federal health guidance people are considering moving in a Canadian direction and changing yes, it's just a recommendation. No one has to follow it. Of course, I'm a little wary of voluntary health recommendations in the post-COVID landscape where it was, we're just recommending things, but then actually all local officials are going to operate off of it because the CDC does have a lot of ridiculous guidelines that generally people don't follow. You're supposed to have a well-done steak. You're not supposed to have eggs Benedict. You're supposed to microwave your prosciutto. There's lots of silly health things that people don't follow.
Authoritarian health guidelines. Just last week, I had a bunch of birthdays, and I was about to drink my 11th drink, and out of nowhere, a thud came and swiped my dry gin martini out of my hand and said, "Briahna, absolutely not. That would go against federal guidelines. Thou shalt not sip." And it was a real buzzkill at this party, I gotta say.
I know that neither of us let a federal official get in the way of our merrymaking in the drinking department, which is the way it should be. But the concern is because, again, in a post-COVID landscape, people take the recommenders of health policy are more emboldened to subtly force things on us. And if it remains voluntary, that's fine.
I agree. We should get rid of all health guidelines whatsoever. Pregnant women, go for it. 10 beers. 20 beers. Maybe you should have all the tuna.
The health officials
sushi.
advise that anyone capable, anyone who is in the age bracket where it's possible that they could become pregnant should not drink at all. Yeah. That includes yourself, Briahna.
Yeah, barely. Here's what
and that's crazy. Nobody follows it.
Yeah. Wow. Nobody follows it. Nobody follows it.
We should go back to that. We should go back to, I'm definitely flossing twice an hour.
So
we have to break the segment so I can floss again,
so
as
Robby,
the health experts
literally
advise.
Nobody follows it because they are truly guidelines. Then what do you make of Ted Cruz's choice to really treat us to an extremely masculine display of sipping beer on air to prove that nobody's going to put baby in a corner?
Okay, if all going to remain guidelines, it's fine. Whether you wear a mask or not, is that going to stay a guideline? It better stay a guideline, not you have to do this, or vaccines, or closing your school or restaurant or whatever it is. Don't tell me they haven't, that remained all guidelines.
You're right to be concerned. I'm going home to Cleveland for the holiday weekend, and we normally barbecue. My mom makes the best baked beans on the planet. But ever since the guidelines around gas stoves, there has just been a gaping hole in her kitchen. And I honestly don't understand how we're going to make these beans.
This is gaslighting. You're acting like they're not actively considering.
It's illegal. Joe Biden made gaslighting Gaslighting, all gas, illegal. Honestly, with this Green New Deal transition.
Gaslighting was illegal. It'd be easier to sit in this chair right now. That's what I have to say about that. Man.
All right, well, Ted Cruz is getting dragged on the internet because in the longer clip, which you definitely should go watch, the newscaster says, well, I have a non-alcoholic beer here that I'm going to drink with you, buddy boo, sir. I can't drink on air. And then Ted Cruz goes, well, rest assured, my beer has alcohol in it for sure. And then the newscaster goes, well, after work, for sure, mine's going to have alcohol in it too. And it's like, yeah, bruh, we got you. You're a real man.
Better not have been Bud Light. I was
Ted Cruz,
glad to see they were not
Ted
drinking
Cruz,
Bud
of course,
Light
made a big show of saying, I'm glad you're not drinking Bud Light.
Of course.
And then he says, I'm drinking a local Texas beer and did the plug for it. And he did he hit every note. It was pitch perfect.
All right.
All right, I thought this was a fun one. I love this story. I think it's hilarious.
They can pry my. I don't drink beer, as we all know, but you can pry my Aperol Spritz from my cold, dead hands, Dr. Fauci.
I mean, the fact that also this is kind of coming off of modeling Canada's guidelines. So this was a story back in January when I think Canada changed its guidelines. Is it authoritarian on the loose since January when Canada advised people not to have more than 2 drinks a month, a week?
We could talk about the actual science of this. I'm reading a report from my colleague at Reason Magazine, Eric Boehm, who says setting strict rules about alcohol consumption also requires ignoring evidence that actually drinking might be good for you if done in moderation. A study published in June by the medical journal BMC Medicine compares drinkers and non-drinkers and found that infrequent light or moderate drinkers were at a lower risk of mortality from all causes when compared to lifelong teetotalers.
Yeah, I
now,
mean,
heavy drinking has a higher risk of dying
that's true.
from
Cancer,
et cetera.
But that's what the advice is, to be a light or moderate drinker. It's not a prohibition.
2 drinks a week is very light.
Okay.
Very. We've hung out before. You don't say that.
No, but if I'm going to sit here and I mean, yes, I had 2. I went out to dinner last night and had 2 drinks last night. But I also I'm not arguing against it. I also know that I do things that are contributing to bad health outcomes all the time. I do think that there's a way that we're very bad at assessing what our actual risk profile is for various activities. It's like people being very afraid of flying, not realizing the enormous risk of getting into a car every day. People ride scooters without helmets, and any ER nurse will tell you that they don't touch a scooter because of how many traumas they see coming through every day from that exact reason. So I do appreciate that there are people who are willing to wave the flag every now and again and say, a reminder, these aren't the best activities. These are activities that are strongly correlated to shorter mortality, et cetera. I like being warned, and then I can make my own decision about whether or not I'd rather have that 11th martini during my week.
That is all fine as long as it is truly voluntary. So let's keep it there on all the health front. And then I will have nothing to complain about, and I'll be happy as a clam.
All right, I'm for that. At the second Joe Biden tries to rip that gin bottle out of my hand.
He's coming for you because as
Robby,
a person in an age range with the capacity for being a birthing person to use all the right, this vocabulary is being forced on me as well.
Oh, it's being
Biden's
forced
going to arrest
on you?
me if I don't say it.
Robby voluntarily just said birthing person.
Well, I'm just trying to avoid the gulag.
Look, I'm going to be in those birthing stirrups with a cocktail in my hand saying, I'll push when I darn well please.
All right, well, this has gone totally off the rails. More rising right after this.
It's my right.